Hi there, this is Chat with a GP and my name is Dr. William Bird, and today, guess what? We're talking about nature, the impact nature has on health, and the evidence is now quite extraordinary. A big EU study just came out showing if every single town and city in the EU, the European Union, managed to go to the guidelines required for increasing nature, 43,000 lives will be saved every year. We also know that from new studies, prescriptions will drop, healthcare costs will drop, and generally many of the long-term conditions like diabetes and hypertension, they will also decrease by a significant amount. And it's not just the physical activity, it's the actual nature part of it. So what's going on? Well, when we're in nature, our brains say we're safe, because back in the hunter-gatherers days, a place like this would provide food, water, shelter. Therefore, your brain is programmed to reward us to go to places like this. So after 60 minutes, some researchers in Berlin found that actually after just a small walk around woods, your amygdala, the bit that talks about fear in your brain and talks to other parts of the brain to say, careful guys, this is a bad place to be, that shrinks down and the blood flows decrease in just 60 minutes. The hippocampus, which actually helps us to kind of process things and keeps us more reassuring and learning and our concentration, that goes up compared to if you walk in an urban area. So the difference between walking in an urban area and the nature area in just 60 minutes starts to change the brain. And even more extraordinary is that there's part of the brain in the medial prefrontal cortex that does negative rumination. That's the preliminary things before you get to depression. And it's about constantly thinking about the worries in your world, amplifying the bad things and making them huge. And we all do it, but we can get into a right cycle of it by actually walking again in nature. The blood flow in that part of the brain actually decreases. So we have less negative ruminations. So that's what's going on in the brain. Let's have a look and go right from the start when you're pregnant. So if you're in pregnancy and you are in a green area, and obviously you're accounting for affluence and all of those other things, your baby is going to be healthier. The blood pressure drops a bit and the baby's size is increased, and generally health is increased. And that's been done in the whole of Europe and many other studies. As you move on into childhood, children who play outdoors a lot more than children who play indoors, their hippocampus, we've just come across that, increases. And that's all about behavior and concentration. So really important for school and for children to learn. That actually increases in size. And perhaps even more surprising, the end of our chromosomes, a little piece called the telomere, that, if it's really long, will give us a long life, and if it's quite short, will give us a short life. That actually is longer in children who've been playing outdoors. And this is because there's less of the inflammation that happens. So inflammation is the part when our immune system fights against our own body and causes damage everywhere, including our hearts, and our diabetes and obesity and all of those things. And nature seems to calm down that inflammation. So you can see there's a huge amount going on. But there's another part, the gut biome, where the bacteria are. Well, the gut biome needs certain bacteria. And yes, we can get them when we are born, because if we go through the vagina, through the birth canal, we pick up bugs then. But if you've had a cesarean section, you may not get those. Breastfeeding, that helps as well. But if both of those haven't happened in your life, playing around outdoors as a child, you pick up these bugs, and these are vital to helping reprogram the immune system to calm it down. So we need the bugs from nature, and we don't get them from anywhere else, to actually help reprogram them and make our immune system much calmer. And then as we go into older age, there's a big part that nature, which people don't quite understand, haven't realised yet, it increases social interaction. And actually, older people who live on their own but are surrounded by nature don't feel lonely compared to those where they've just got cityscape around them. It's almost like nature is your kind of friend. It's almost as though there's a surrogate person there, and makes them feel better. And again, when you have nature, your vagus nerve is stimulated, the parasympathetic, and that opens you up to more connections. When you're stressed and your adrenal, you've got adrenaline and noradrenaline, that actually makes you and pushes you away from people because you don't trust people so much. That's all about protection. But when the parasympathetic comes on, which happens in nature, you open yourself up. So people talk to each other outdoors a lot more. And there have been some amazing studies in big flat blocks in Chicago, where surrounding one set of flats was greenery, and around the other, that greenery had died off because of a drainage problem, and it was just concrete and clay. And they measured that domestic violence, crime, and people knowing who's on their own floor increased significantly in those tower blocks where there was greenery. And now these people were allocated randomly. So in other words, it wasn't people chose to go to those tower blocks because it was a big social housing project. So what it was doing is showing that when people were walking outdoors outside that tower block, they were talking to friends and family and those people who lived on the same floor. And there was that interconnection, and aggression was reduced significantly. So nature just not only has its own benefits to the individual, it brings people together. It creates a better, stronger, more vibrant community. Even looking at nature outdoors, and when you're in an office, can help calm you down and focus. And don't forget, the hippocampus was there, getting bigger, which is all about focus and concentration. So you can, if you're unable to get outdoors, get the benefits. And there's even showing that benefits of watching on television nature, and pictures in hospitals have shown to reduce the amount of pain relief needed. And in fact, one amazing study right at the very beginning of all of these, in the 1980s, Roger Ulrich, an architect, looked at a ward and found that those patients who overlook a brick wall compared to those patients who overlook trees in the park, the wall patients actually stayed in longer, had more complications, had stronger pain relief required, and were more complaining compared to those who actually overlooked the park. Exactly the same surgeon, exactly the same nursing staff, exactly the same procedure that was done, and yet the difference was simply because of the view outside. So what do we have to do? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we don't quite know, but you have to have some nature dose. Okay, every day, just be there. Don't try and put yourself down, look at your phone, just appreciate it, because your brain will change shape. It will actually start to improve. And if you're a child and you let your children outdoors, it will make their brains completely change, and it will increase their longevity and also reduce the amount of diseases they'll get later in life. So it couldn't be a nicer day. I'm really, really pleased to having spoken to you all about this. It's something really close to my heart, the connection to nature and health. And this could not be a better place for me to feel good. So hopefully that's come across. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 1:30. Myself or other colleagues will be there. Thank you very much indeed.